Yo, what's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Two-Man Game. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Cone, and I've got my co-host, my brother here, and Ryan. Ryan, how are you doing today?
Not too bad, man. I'm a little sore. I had a dodgeball tournament last night.
Yeah, Ryan played
And
the dodgeball tournament at a church yesterday, which is
I,
why, because we were going to record last night, and he's like, oh, I'm busy, with doing some disc golf stuff, and then playing dodgeball at a church is part of the reason why the episode is getting up to you on Sunday rather than Saturday. So if you're mad, be mad at Ryan, because he didn't even win in the tournament either.
no, I didn't. People were calling me Joel Embiid because I carried us to the last round. Even though it wasn't given. Embiid's never gotten to the finals, but I basically carried our team to the finals and then choked both times. So apparently, I'm Joel Embiid per my teammates and coworkers. So that was quite disappointing. But I was catching some bodies with the dodgeballs, man. I got a pretty good arm from the baseball days. So I was throwing pretty hard. I didn't hit the priest this year, so that's always good.
This year, did you do this last year?
I did do a lot. We won last year. We weren't able to repeat, unfortunately. They definitely got some better people. They had some Liberty baseball players there, and
they brought in ringers for the church dodgeball
They did bring in
tournament.
ringers, man. The competition was definitely better this year. And the worst part was they had like 3 or 4 teams that only had like 5 players. So then they would get ringers from other teams to play, and we were like the only team that had like a consistent roster throughout the whole thing. So everyone kept picking up the ringers. So it was tiring, man. I am definitely feeling it today. I did a leg day on Thursday, disc golf, and helping my buddy with some construction and dodgeball yesterday, and my body is just like not feeling it today. So I'm glad that it rained all morning so I could kind of keep it chill. But
yeah, it's gross up here, and I'm doing all right. It's gross up here in New York City. I went to the grocery store a few minutes ago and got myself a sandwich, which was really good. Picked up some groceries, not a ton because I'm going out of town to meet up with you in Florida here in a few days. We're going to go see some spring training games. We're big baseball fans. I was bigger of a baseball fan back in the day, but still fans of baseball, Yankees fans, which would have been great if we were born in like the 90s, but instead
we're one generation too late on that one.
Yeah, so shout out to our dad for making us Yankees fans when they decided to suck. Also the case with me with the Cowboys. A lot of you don't know I'm a Cowboys fan, which I'm sure people are mad about, but trust me, I hate it as much as you do because the team has constantly given me nothing but pain after being like the Yankees, historically great for a while. Now they've decided to suck when I become a fan of them. So it's not the most enjoyable thing. I was on the way back actually from Oklahoma City when they were playing the Packers recently in the playoff game where they ended up getting blown out. And I was on the plane mid-flight, so I couldn't get mad about it because there were people sitting next to me. I was right in the middle of 2 people, but it was a struggle to say the least. So thankfully the Thunder are good right now to kind of keep me sane. But other than that tangent, I'm good. Just kind of hanging out. The Thunder lost last night to the Spurs, which was frustrating.
That was a yikes.
Yeah, or not last night, but the night before.
Yeah.
But, Wemby was just ridiculous. He's playing the best basketball of his rookie season so far, has locked up Rookie of the Year for a little while now, but I think it's pretty all but solidified at the moment. He's just been ridiculous. And that kind of does lead us to the conversation I want to start off with this podcast, or start this podcast off with, and that is talking a little bit about the face of the league. This is something that's been going on a lot. The main chunk of this podcast, we're going to do a playoff team draft where we're each going to pick a squad of 8 playoff teams, and the goal is to draft the best team, the team that gets the most playoff wins, makes it further into the playoffs. So we're going to be going back and forth and doing that. But first, I do want to talk for a little bit about the face of the league stuff that we've been hearing, as well as the MVP race, 2 of the more hot button issues in the NBA right now. Let's start off with the face of the league talk. So Wemby's one of those guys that has popped up a lot in those conversations. And the reason we're even having these talks is because LeBron is getting towards the end of his career. Steph Curry is getting up there in age, even though he's still got a few years left. Same thing with Kevin Durant. The guys that kind of carried the torch for the past 15, 20 years are about to retire. And so who is the next face of the league? And Luka is one of the guys that's come up a couple of times. I know Jason Tatum has been talked about. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has kind of burst onto the scene. There are a number of great players, and I know Wemby's kind of being pushed to the forefront now as well. So I'm curious to you, who do you see as the next face of the league? It is interesting because a lot of these guys are foreign born, and it's almost always been an American basketball player. It was Jordan, and then LeBron, and Steph Curry was also part of that for a little bit. Kobe, as well. We talk about Durant, all these, all-time greats. Most of them are American born, but the league is more international than ever. So it feels like maybe the next natural progression is it being an international player, whether it's, again, like Luka from Slovenia. I've seen some people mention, why isn't Jokic talked about in this? I don't think Jokic wants to be the face of the league. He just wants to race horses. So But like, them, you talk about Shea from Canada, obviously Wemby from France. So it's all over the place. But is there like one guy that you see as like the next face of the league if you had to pick someone?
Yeah, so I think the hard part about this conversation, because I think back to all those other guys that are face of the league, and they did a lot of winning. And I feel like none of these young players who are up next have really won a title. I think the only exception to that would be Giannis, who has a title. And I don't know if we even mentioned Giannis in that little intro there.
Well, it's hard because he's what, like 29?
Yeah, he's kind of like in the middle. He's kind of like in the middle. He's like not with the older guys. Like he's not one with the Kawhis, LeBron, Stephs, KD, whatever. But he's also not with the Shays, Lucas, Tatums. He's kind of like in that. He's got that middle ground. Yeah. But all these other guys, they did a lot of winning, like Kobe, LeBron, Michael Jordan. Like all these guys were a lot of championships, a lot of win. I feel like every face, we haven't really had a face of the league that was like an Aaron Rodgers, for example, for football, where they like weren't winning as many, championships. Like that's why Tom Brady was considered the face of the NFL for so long, because he was winning. Now it's Patrick Mahomes. So I feel like there's like a big trend of winning, and that's why I think like we were talking about baseball earlier, a lot of people were deeming like Mike Trout or Shohei Ohtani the face of the MLB, but they've always been on trash teams and have never won anything. And I just feel like with NBA, with how much of it is like pop culture and championship based, I feel like you have to be someone who wins a bunch of titles.
It's also it's like a really individual sport too. Like in baseball, Shohei or Mike Trout can do all this great stuff, but there's so many other guys that have to contribute. There's no sport where one player can cause as much of a difference as basketball. If you have LeBron James in the Eastern Conference for years, you are automatically going to be in the NBA Finals. It's just how it worked. And so yeah, I definitely see what you're saying. Like maybe this year Tatum and the Celtics go out there and win a finals, and now he's got one under his belt. A number of All-NBA teams, maybe he could start to push for that. Luka feels like it's a matter of time until he eventually gets an MVP, and we'll talk about the MVP race here in a moment, but maybe he could win an MVP. Maybe the Mavs go on a run and they win the finals or just appear in an NBA finals. I think that could be big for him. So yeah, I definitely see what you're saying. I think to kind of get that recognition, they have to start winning in addition to being one of the best players in the world. And they also like have to want to be it. We talked about Jokic. I don't think he really wants that. Shea is a guy that I bring up obviously as a Thunder fan, and he gets a lot of attention. He's kind of got like the outfits, and he's a player that has a really cool style of play, very different, but he's also kind of soft-spoken. He's not going out there and doing a bunch of like interviews, doesn't have a lot of these quotable moments. So I don't know if that's kind of his thing either. So it's a weird balance of stuff that you need in basketball in particular, I feel like, to be that face of the league, which is what makes this conversation a little bit like subjective in a way, and it's hard to truly say who it's going to be.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like when you were talking about the flash right there, kind of made me think of James Harden and how Harden arguably was one of the most dominant players of the late 2010s. And I would never say he was really considered the face of the league. He always kind of lived in like Steph Curry or LeBron's shadow just because or KD, because they were the ones winning. Like Harden was like undeniably a top 5 player year in and year out during his best years, but he never really, I think, took that leap because he had all the other stuff you were talking about. He had the skill he had. And I just really think it comes down to winning. So I really think like, and the issue is if you had like blind resumes, I think Jokic people like they see Jokic's resume, they'd be like, oh, this guy's clearly the face of the league right now. Like, back-to-back MVPs, he's won a finals, triple doubles on a night-night basis. But then not saying that Jokic has no bag, but I feel like he just doesn't have the flash and like he's not going to reel in the casual fan. Like, no, you're not going to pull your buddy to watch a Nuggets game and they're going to watch Jokic and be like, dang, I want to go out and play some hoops now and play like Jokic. You know what I mean? But if you have prime LeBron or Kobe, that's why everyone's inspired when everyone says who inspired them to play hoops and who they model their play style after. They're like, oh, Kobe or LeBron, or you know what I mean? So I think, at least from that standpoint, is why I think someone like Shea, Luka, or Tatum, those are probably 3 that I can think of, just because when I watch Luka play, it makes me want to go out there and shoot hoops, man, because just seeing him dice people up, and I'm not saying that he's unathletic because he's a professional athlete, but
he's not like going out there and dunking on people.
He doesn't have like the Giannis athleticism. Like he's not overpowering people. It's just straight finesse. So like someone like that is, I think, kind of relatable and inspiring in a way. And like you were saying, like Tatum, I think is more of that like bag skill set, like I'm going to take the ball and just hoop type of mindset, kind of like that Kobe mindset. And then I think Shea, like you said, from the guard standpoint, just has like a really like not cliche way of playing and just kind of attract in some casual fans. And I think there's been a lot more Shea fans too recently, especially this year now. Like I think there was a decent amount of Shea fans when y'all made that run and lost to the Rockets, and then it kind of cooled off as the Thunder weren't doing too hot. But now that the Thunder are coming, I've seen a lot more Shea propaganda from like non-Thunder fans. Like y'all been pushing it nonstop forever.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But it's just like I say, I think you need a player that's going to draw in the casual fan. Like who are kids going to want to wear their jersey beg their parents to buy them their shoes or, stuff like that. And it's kind of hard because I just feel like there's so much like parity in the league right now, and a lot of different the talent's kind of spread out that there's not like that dude. But like I think it's with Wemby, he's still young and he's doing really good. Give it 2 or 3 years, and I think we'll have a better idea on him. But I do think he's totally got to be in that conversation with the way he's like making people want to watch hoops.
Yeah, and when you talk about these, like you said, these players where you could show a casual fan a game and they're like, whoa, that guy's ridiculous. There are all these players out there. Like I think Embiid also has that effect sometimes. You talk about Luka, Tatum, Shea. Steph Curry did that for a while where he's bombing 40-foot threes and people are like, oh, it's just this kind of, not shorter guy because he's, above 6 feet tall, but shorter compared to a lot of the other players out there. He doesn't look like the most athletic guy in the world, and he's bombing these threes and dominating the NBA. Like something like that, I think is part of the reason why Steph was so appealing. And Wemby, of course, not everybody's a 7'4" alien that can go out there and do ridiculous stuff. But at the same time, if you showed someone Wemby doing the stuff that he does, I think they're going to be like, oh, I want to watch more of this guy. And at the same time, it feels like he wants to be that face. Whenever you put a microphone in front of Wemby, he's saying something that's like quotable. When he was at the All-Star break and he was talking with Shaq, Chuck, and the guys, and they were asking him about Greg Popovich and the whole Spurs situation. He's like, yeah, we were at a film session one point and Greg Popovich shows us a play, pauses it, looks at us and goes, what the fuck is this? And everyone starts laughing on the set. Like he's naturally funny. Feels like he has kind of that charisma to him. I know after they beat us, he got a microphone and, was doing a post-game interview and he grabbed it out of whoever was like talking with his hand and just said to the crowd, I miss this, like winning, like I want to win more. And, everyone's clapping. David Robinson, who's there attending, stands up and starts clapping. It felt like a my career moment from 2K, like watching him do
straight out of the next 2K. Write that down.
Exactly. It felt exactly like that. And that's how I kind of see Wemby. He feels like such a natural face of the league guy where he comes in right as LeBron and Steph and these guys are hitting the end of their careers, and he's going to start to ramp up. And by the time they retire, because they still have, Steph probably still has 4 or 5 years. LeBron probably still has at least a couple more, if not more than that. By the time these guys start to retire, Wemby's probably going to be heading into his prime. And there are people who will tell you he's a top 25 player in the league at the moment. And he's not even anywhere near his prime. He's still in his rookie season, and he's already one of the league's most impactful defenders. The shot is coming along. It really feels like, say the Spurs this offseason get like a Trae Young or add just some kind of high caliber player next to Wemby. The Spurs could maybe be pushing for a playoff berth next year.
I beg the very least they fumble this, man. I beg they don't fumble this. Or send them to someone that won't fumble.
Something I want to say is I think there's a strong part of me that feels like this draft was rigged to get Wemby over to San Antonio. Not saying it's a bad thing because this is the perfect spot for Wemby to be, but I made like a second half of the season's prediction video last year, and one of the predictions I made was Victor Wembanyama lands on the Spurs. And at that point they were bad, so obviously they had a shot, but for some reason, it just felt like he was going to end up as a Spur. There were baby photos of him in, Spurs jerseys. I think he was in a Tony Parker jersey when he was younger. It makes sense for them to get another super gifted big man. It goes to Greg Popovich. They have this lineage of David Robinson and then Tim Duncan and now him. It just made sense. And I think this is the perfect spot for Wemby where they're not going to fumble this because they built so many winners over time. They have arguably the best coach of all time in Greg Popovich. I don't think they really can fumble this. I mean, they could, not give him a great supporting cast and he starts to deal with injuries and then maybe things spiral out of hand. But I think if Wemby stays healthy and they just give him a decent enough supporting cast, we could see a LeBron effect where if you're in the Western Conference, it's going to be really hard to beat Wemby on any given night or in any given playoff run because he's just that good, which I hope the Thunder go out there and win a bunch of games coming up here soon championships, because I'm scared of what Wemby's going to look like down the line. You give him a few more years, he's already taking over games against, we are one of the best teams in the league, and he completely took over at the end of the game. He willed them to that victory. And again, it's his rookie season. He hasn't even played 60 games yet. He almost had back-to-back 5x5s a few nights ago, like literal back-to-back nights. He was 1 assist away from back-to-back 5x5s. So to me, when I think about face of the league, Wemby is the guy that comes to mind because it seems like he wants that. He's going to be one of the best players in the world. And like you said, when we talk about a player that's going to make people want to watch basketball, I think Wemby's going to be in that conversation.
Yeah, and I also went to DC to see Wemby play.
Yeah.
So I wasn't going there to see the Wizards nor the Spurs. I want to go see Wemby. So there you go, is like a prime example of that.
Yeah, like you need a player where they're going to be like when LeBron was in Cleveland, people might come to see the Cavs play because they still had Kyrie, of course. but people were mainly like, I want to go see LeBron. I right now want to go try and see the Lakers when they play the Brooklyn Nets, or at some point somewhere across the NBA, across the US before the end of the season. Hopefully, maybe they end up playing the Thunder in the playoffs, and I plan on going to a Thunder playoff game or two, so I get to see them that way. But I want to go see the Lakers because I want to see LeBron before he retires, and I don't think he's going to retire this summer. But you never really know. Maybe something pops up and he decides to call it quits. I don't really see that happening. But he's a guy like I need to go see him finish playing before he retires. And I've seen Wemby play because I saw him in summer league. And like you talked about, like that atmosphere, I know you said when you saw the Wizards, anytime Wemby did something, even though it's over in Washington, the fan, like people were going crazy.
Oh, I was going nuts, man. They were kind of like what you were saying earlier about the Thunder game. Like Wemby was kind of leading a comeback because the Wizards were winning by like 10 or 15 points, and the Spurs ended up coming back and winning. And that arena was going crazy, man. Those people were mad hype. Wemby had a block and then like a transition three, and you would have thought the roof got blown off that place at an away game. It was pretty nuts. Like teams don't want to be the Toronto Raptors of the LeBron era. You know what I mean? Kind of like what you're saying. These Western teams want to win now. So that way they don't end up being like, oh, the team that lost to Wemby 4 years in a row in the conference finals.
Yeah, exactly. Like when I saw him in summer league, and that was only the second summer league I'd ever been to, but there were people saying that they had been there for 10, 15, 20 years, and they had never seen an atmosphere like that one with Wemby. And I remember being in the arena for when Wemby's first game was here, and it was electric. Everything Wemby did, even though he didn't have the best game in the world, even when he just came out, people were like cheering when he made a shot in warmups or stuff. Like people were glued to Wemby. And I saw a tweet recently that said there was a video of him dunking, I think against the Celtics. He did like a double pump dunk from like nearly the free throw line, running past Derek White. And there was a tweet that said that was the most viewed video clip on any NBA socials ever.
Dang.
Ever. And we've recently had LeBron break the all-time scoring record. Like we had that happen. We've had Steph Curry break the all-time three-point record. Yeah. Some incredible stuff that we may never see again. And Wemby just has a really cool looking dunk, and he's breaking NBA social media records. So to me, when we talk about face of the league, I think Wemby is the clear next guy. We could have a situation where some of those other guys we talked about, like say Luka, for example, could be one of those, you've got like LeBron and Steph towards the top of this recent era, but you have like Kevin Durant. There's also James Harden. Russell Westbrook was one of those guys for a little while. I could see like Luka being one of those guys, but when I think about the face of the league coming up, I do think it's probably going to end up being Wemby. And that's what the NBA seemingly wants. And I don't blame them because he is super marketable. And apparently, I can't remember where I heard this recently. I think he's already like top 4 in jersey sales in the entire NBA. Yeah. Which is crazy because, I think the only guys ahead of him are like Steph, LeBron, and I can't remember who the last one is. Maybe Giannis. I know Luka was after him. I know
about Tatum.
It might have been Jason Tatum. I don't remember, but one of those guys. He's already an elite company in terms of like marketability as well. So,
yeah, and I kind of like the last point on that is people were talking about how the dunk contest and dunks are dead, and then the most viewed videos of dunks. So. There you go.
Yeah, it's just maybe we need to get Wemby in the dunk contest.
Right, at that point, it's a standing contest because all he's going to do is reach up and
he's just doing calf raises while everyone else is running from the free throw line. So, but yeah, I want to talk for a little bit about this face of the league stuff because I've seen a lot of people talking about it, and it is interesting because it's been LeBron and Steph Curry for the past decade. Roughly, LeBron specifically for like the last 20 years, there was Kobe, and we're heading into a weird period where we don't really know who the next one's going to be. And part of that, like you said, is the winning. It's not like say over the past few years, Luka had won 2 MVPs and 2 championships or something like that. Maybe it's Luka at that point, but no one's really made themselves stand out quite like that until Wemby is seemingly doing it. But talking about that, talking about Luka, Tatum, Shea, all these other guys, I want to talk about the MVP race for a little bit. The MVP race right now is in one of the most competitive states I feel like it's ever been going into the final 20-ish games of the season. Because right now there are 4 players I can legitimately see winning the MVP. 5 if you count Tatum. I don't think he's actually going to win it. He's been really good. The Celtics are the best team in the league, but the team just has so much talent on it. I don't see him getting real consideration. Maybe you think he should, and I think that's more of an NBA problem if you have that issue. Because I think Tatum's been worthy of some consideration, but I think just he doesn't have the stats that some of these other guys do, and he's got a lot of help around him. So I don't think Tatum's going to be officially in that race, but I could see any of Jokic, Shea, Giannis, or Luka Doncic winning it. And right now, I think the MVP ladder that they put out recently has Jokic at 1, Shea at 2, Giannis at 3, I think, and then Luka Doncic at 4. Those are the 4 guys right now that kind of are seemingly in the mix for it. Ryan, right now, if you had to pick an MVP at the moment, who would it be?
I mean, my pick's going to be Luka because I'm a Luka fanboy, and I think his stats, like if records weren't a thing, I think his stats blow away everybody else's. He's just been on an absolutely stupid run, and like you feel bad because like they played the Celtics and they get smoked, but Luka puts up almost a 40-point triple double. It's like at what point, what more can one man do? And it's not like he's on a bad team. Like they're going to make the playoffs, and it's going to be interesting to see how they fare. And they've been better as they've won 7 of their last 10. But I think it's hard, man, because I think Jokic his year hasn't been as flashy as I feel like the other years have been. He's just been kind of coasting along. And then when you look at the stats, it's like, dang, he's still pretty good.
Yeah, coasting for Jokic is like a near triple-double with 26 points. It's
exactly.
insane.
But then you look at like the Celtics just are like so far and away the best team. They've won 10 in a row. And it's just like, does Tatum just get it by default because he's the best player on like a historical looking team right now? Is that like a possibility? But I don't know, man. I feel like if the season ended today, you could kind of like pick 4 people and you have just as even as a chance to, pick who it's going to be. I don't think it's kind of weird because I feel like in the past it's been pretty clear cut, or at least between 2.
Yeah, usually the past few years has come down to Jokic or Embiid down the stretch, and it's just kind of pick your poison, or Embiid has dealt with an injury a couple of times, and it's like, okay, that's kind of a wrap on it. But this year, there's the fact that we have 4 people who could theoretically win, and there are about 22-ish games left for most of these squads is ridiculous. I can't think of a time we've seen a race that's been this close down the stretch. So.
I think if the Mavs end up becoming a top 5 seed, I think Luka wins. I think if they don't, it's a toss-up between Shea and Jokic.
Yeah, to me, I'm biased. I'm leaning Shea at the moment just because the Thunder were not supposed to be up this high. J-Dub's done amazing stuff. Same thing with Chet. The supporting cast has been great. But what Shea's doing as the most consistent player in the NBA on a night-to-night basis, ridiculous efficiency, high-level defense. I've watched every game that the Thunder played so far this season. Of course, I'm a Thunder fan, so yes, I am biased. But I do think, even from an unbiased perspective, Shea makes a lot of sense as the guy to go with here. But I don't blame you if you pick anybody else. Like if you're going Jokic, the Nuggets are only half a game back of the Thunder. And I think if the Thunder specifically end up as a top 2 or even the 1 seed, that also does something extra for Shea's case. But if, say, the standings finish the way they are right now with the Thunder as the 2 seed, like I think that does a lot for him. Jokic, as the Nuggets are the 3 seed at the moment. Jamal Murray is currently dealing with an injury, so he might miss some time. Say they go on a run. I don't know if he has or not. Let me actually check that real quick. Was it his ankle that I think he hurt? Let me check the Jamal Murray news.
I was doing some research real quick. Kawhi Leonard's shooting 44% from 3 this year?
Yes, I do. It's crazy, man. He's ridiculous.
There's other guys too. Like I was just looking at some other guys on good teams, and like you have people like Donovan Mitchell who's averaging 28 points a game on the second best team in the East. Kawhi's putting up like 25 on 40% from 3 on a really good Clippers team, and they're not even getting mentioned, which I think is just hilarious. I think
it's crazy. Like you could theoretically bring up 10 guys that are deserving of love for this race. Kevin Durant and Devin Booker doing insane stuff for the Suns. You could talk about Anthony Edwards for the Timberwolves, theoretically, with the numbers that he's putting up on the 1 seed. There's just so many guys that are doing crazy things. And, the wildest part of this whole thing is that Joel Embiid probably still would be running away with this if he didn't.
Oh, absolutely would be. It's so sad. It hurts my soul.
That's probably part of the reason why we have one of the best MVP races. It's because
the clear-cut winner got hurt.
Yeah, the clear-cut winner got injured. And Embiid wasn't even supposed to be that in the race coming into the season, because it didn't feel like he had really the narrative, and people were mad that he choked in the playoffs and stuff like that, which usually hurts players' narrative going into the season. And then he was just putting up numbers that were so undeniable. There was no way he wasn't going to win if he stayed healthy, and ended up getting injured. So now there's all this chaos going around it. But Jamal Murray, yeah, he hurt his ankle. Apparently questionable to play tonight. I don't know if he's going to show up, but the point I was trying to make is that, say he misses some time because of that, then Jokic and the Nuggets going to run anyways. That could potentially push him up to the forefront. I don't think enough people are talking about what Giannis is doing this season. Like, Giannis is having maybe the most dominant season of his entire career, and people aren't really talking about it because there's been so much other drama surrounding the Bucks. I was going to
say, with Doc Rivers and Dame, there's just so many other, I feel like, discussions going on with the Bucks right now that people don't really care about Giannis.
Yeah, he's putting up 30.8 points per game, which is the second highest of his career, only behind last season. He's shooting 62% from the field, which I saw a stat recently. This would be the only, I believe this was the stat. Correct me if I'm wrong down below in the comments. I believe this would be the only 30-plus point per game season on 60% shooting or better in NBA history. There's never been a player that shot 60% or better from the field, giving you 30 points a night. It's never happened. He's been a lot like Shaq this season, where he said, okay, I'm just going to go dunk on everybody. Like, nobody can stop me going to the rim. And I think part of that is the gravity of having Damian Lillard next to him. It's opened up the game for him a little bit. They've just got a great offense in general. He's even shooting 30.1% from three, which is the highest mark that he's had in a few seasons at this point, averaging 6.3 assists, which is the highest mark of his career. Giannis is doing ridiculous stuff, and nobody's talking about him because I think there is all that other drama and chaos surrounding the Bucks, and also the fact that, you know, if it weren't like the Celtics are just so good that they're nowhere even near them for the 1 seed. Like, say the Bucks were fighting with the Celtics for the 1 seed right now.
Oh yeah, I agree.
I think Giannis he'd be getting a lot more love. He's just not really getting that right now. And I think it is a lot to do with the expectations that people had for the Bucks coming to the season, and the fact that they haven't been, even though they've been really good, they just haven't been, you know, dominant. Dueling with the Celtics, dominant. Yeah, like we thought they might be coming into the year. So I don't know. I think it's unfair to not talk about Giannis in this race. I think he's deserving of a spot in this conversation. I don't know if he'll end up. I don't know if he's going to end up winning it. I think it probably does come down to Shea, Jokic, and Luka. You know, where does Luka end up in the standings? Because right now they are an 8 seed. It's weird because while they're an 8 seed, they're not like, you know, it's not like years past where you're the 8 seed and you're 6 games back of like a 4 seed or something like that.
Yeah, it's like 2 or 3 wins and 2 or 3 losses moves you up 4 spots.
Yeah, they're the 8 seed right now, 34 and 26, and they're only 1.5 games back of the 5-seeded Suns. So it's really close. Like, last night's loss to the Celtics, I think, pushed them from the 7 spot to the 8 spot. Like, the Warriors and Lakers are only 1.5 games back of them too now. They're both looking really good. Those top 10 spots in the West are going to be super, super close. So it might just come down to the final few days of the season. Can the Mavericks push for a top 5 seed? You know, the Clippers have slipped a little bit as of late. They're only 3.5 games back of the Suns at the 5 spot. Could the Mavs go on a crazy run and push their way up to a 4 seed? If they did that, I think it probably would be Luka's award to go ahead and lose. But I don't know. It's going to be an interesting case of how do you compare the stats with the team's success? Because we have seen players in the past win as a 6 seed, like Russ and Jokic, particularly in the past decade, but their teams were god-awful. Like, Luka's team is a lot better than those teams, even though they have had some injuries this year. But Luka is putting up ridiculous stats. It's just, is that statistical advantage maybe enough over a Shea and a Jokic to make up for the lack of team success, which they are good. It's just that the Thunder are 41 and 18 and the Nuggets are 41 and 19. So
there's good, not great.
Yeah, it's tough to give him that when he's not leagues ahead of guys statistically. Like, he's definitely the best statistical player, I would say, in the league right now, but he's not worlds ahead of them, and the team is significantly down the standings.
Yeah, I think if Luka was averaging like 40 points a game, I think it'd be like, you know what I mean? Because I feel like the bar keeps getting set higher. Like, Russ got it, and because it was like, oh man, this dude's averaging a triple-double. That's never been done before. Who cares how good his team is? And then you happen with Jokic, he was a center doing it, and they're like, oh, who cares how good? You know what I mean? It's almost like you kind of have to like be doing something absolutely nuts.
Something historically significant in a way to grab an MVP with your team kind of down the standings like that. Yeah. So it's going to be tough for Luka. I know a lot of people are really pushing for him, and I think it'll be super cool to see him win. Obviously, I want to see Shea win, you know me, but if Luka wins, to me, it's just a matter of time for him whenever the Mavericks get their things together and actually end up as a top 4 seed. So I don't know. Even if he doesn't get it now, he's going to get one at some point. It's just, I don't know. It's crazy close. Again, I can't remember a time where we've had 4 players who are this close this late in the season. So, but yeah, I guess if season in today, I go Shea, you go Luka. We'll see how it finishes up. And now let's get into our main segment. So, Ryan, do you want to talk a little bit about what we're going to do real quick with this playoff team draft?
Yeah. So basically what I want to do is Connor, if you want to like make a Google Doc so that way we can keep track, or if you want to pull up like a tier maker and then put like Ryan and Connor and then just put
I can do it.
That might be better, I think. Pick a tier
I'll pull it up real quick.
And then pick Ryan and Connor. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to do a draft. One of us will get first pick and then we'll make it Snake because I feel like there's a pretty consensus first pick here. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to draft teams who we think are going to have the most playoff success. So it's almost like we're ranking like our finals picks from like 1 to 16.
who's most likely to go on a deep playoff run is kind of what we're
exactly.
going for.
And so the strategy with this is to pick someone you think could go on a run and win games. Because I think Connor and I were talking about this. I think at the end of the season, what we'll do is we'll look back on this. Maybe we'll look back at this after the finals, and we'll give
retrospective.
We'll get a point for each playoff win a team got, in our bracket, and then maybe like lose 2 points if a team you picked didn't make the playoffs or something. I mean, we'll come up with a scoring system when it actually, ends up being the finals and stuff goes on. But essentially what we want to do is we just want to rank the contenders from who we think is going to make a run to who might make a run, and then who's not going to make it. And at the end, we'll look at the 14 teams left and talk about the teams on the edge and say why we don't think, why didn't either one of us pick them?
Yeah. Ryan, we've got important news about Shake Milton.
Oh, did he sign?
He did sign. What do you think he signed? Live on podcast, Sixers legend.
Oh, man. Can I get a conference?
Eastern Conference.
Eastern Conference? I'm going Boston.
Nope.
All right, who is it?
It is a top 6 team.
The Knicks.
It is the Knicks.
Oh, I hate it. He's so going to have a good game against us. I hate it.
He's a Knick.
I like that a lot for them.
I do like that a lot. They need help with all those injuries going on right now.
Gosh dang it.
Unfortunate. He's gonna be nice over there. I like that signing for
live on the freaking pod, man.
Live on the pod. Which, by the way, shout out to Mike Muscala returning to the Thunder. I knew it was gonna happen. I had sources for the
this man Cohen texts me and goes, by the way, Muscala's going to the Thunder. Keep it on the down low. I was just like, okay.
First time ever there's been Cohen sources, but yeah, shout out to Moose rejoining.
Man, you could have broke it, man. It could have been Cohen had it first.
I could have broke it, but no.
I know you didn't want to, out your person who told you.
I didn't want to out my source. Didn't want to out my source.
I get it. You're a better man than Woj or Shams. I got to give it to you.
Yep. I'm a better man. The real reporter is right here.
I know you met Shams before. I think it was at Summer League, right?
Yeah.
If you see him again next year, you're going to be like, by the way, I was going to break Mike Muscala, but I thought I'd let you have that one.
Yeah, I'd let you have that
I know it pays your bills, doesn't pay mine, so.
Exactly. I wasn't getting any cut off of that.
I think Woj actually ended up breaking it, but it's funny.
No, same thing.
All right, you ready?
Yeah, so let's go and do it. So yeah, I'm thinking we do per playoff win, you get 1 point. If a team doesn't make it, you lose 2 points. Yeah. And if they make the NBA Finals, like an extra 3 or something like that.
And then if you have the Finals winner, we'll come with a bonus.
Yeah, maybe like maybe an extra bonus 3 if you pick the Finals winner.
Yeah, I'm with it.
Okay, cool. All right, we'll go with that as the rough point format. It should work. Okay, let me go ahead and share this with the viewers. Okay, so is this the usual one I go with?
There's my puppy right there.
Yeah, shout out to Luna.
I know if you saw a ball of fuzz in the background moving the whole
goat.
time.
Let me reformat this a little bit. Okay.
Kind of dog, as some people call her.
Shout out to Luna. Okay, so here we have the list. Let's figure out who's going to get the first pick. I'm going to do a coin flip thing right here. Go ahead and call it.
Heads.
Okay, it's flipping on Google. It is tails. So
what would you like?
I want the first pick.
I figured you do. All right, go for it.
I want the first pick. I'm going to take the team that I feel very strongly about winning the Eastern Conference. They're the best team in the East easily. I don't think people are giving them enough love. I'm picking the Boston Celtics as my first team. I put out a tweet yesterday where I said, I don't know how anybody beats this team 4 times out of 7 in a series. And that tweet kind of blew up, mainly because a lot of people were clowning it, saying, oh, people say this every year. This is not nearly the same Celtics team we saw last year or any other year. The fact that they added 2 all-star caliber players in Porzingis and Drew Holiday, I don't think people realize how good this team is. They're one of, I think, only like 7 or 8 teams in NBA history with a net rating that is better than 10. This team is historically great. So I'm going to pick the Celtics. I think they're easily the best team in the Eastern Conference right now. And I would be pretty surprised if they didn't make the finals. So that's a nice little thing to get under my belt if I get that little boost from making the finals. So I'm going to go with Boston. And now you get 2 picks.
And I'm going to pick my Western Conference Finals pick.
Okay.
And I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Clippers as my first pick.
Where are the Clippers? There they are.
Right there.
I was looking for the new logo.
Yeah, what the heck? He's looking for the boat.
Yeah, I'm behind. My fault.
I think the Clippers have the guy Kawhi who's won a finals before. He's taken the team on a run. Paul George is having a pretty solid season. Russ hurting his hand kind of hurts, but I just think they have the star power to kind of and the depth to match the Celtics. I think they're one of the few teams that can do that. And in terms of like the Western Conference, I really think the Clippers they got to make a run at some point. And I feel like as long as they don't, as long as they do avoid the injury bug, I think this might be the year that they do it. So they're going to be my first pick. My second pick, I'm between two teams. Do I pick an Eastern team or a Western team? Part of me wants to pick no.
Not the Hornets. Okay,
I'll let you save that one.
Okay. I can take the Hornets. Cool. I thought you were going to take my pick.
I can't pick Portland now. It's not the preseason anymore.
Yeah, no, Ryan's Portland Trailblazers.
Mm-hmm. Because it's curious. So do I pick an East team who I think can challenge the Celtics, or do I pick? I'm gonna go ahead and pick the Denver Nuggets.
That's a good pick.
I think as long as Jamal Murray's injury isn't like a long-term concern and Jokic keeps doing his horse racing BS, I think the Nuggets are going to be there, and I think the Nuggets Clippers is my Western Finals pick probably as well. So it gives me good odds, hopefully, to get one of them in there and upset Father Derek White and Tatum and all those dudes. So those are me. I'm gonna start with the West. Those are my two picks.
I think that's a good way to go because the West feels a lot more open than the East at the moment.
So you get two now.
I got to go with the Thunder. I have to go with them. Mm-hmm. I've got to be confident in my team. I think people are sleeping on them because of the quote unquote lack of experience. A lot of the teams that people cite as getting eliminated earlier on because they didn't have a lot of experience weren't as good as the Thunder team. As one of the best net ratings. They're top 5 offense and defense. Shea's way better than people think. This team is ready for the moment. I'm not saying they're going to win the West. I'm not even saying they're going to make the Western Conference Finals, although I think they have a shot. But I don't think they're getting upset in the first round like people think they do. I'm going to take the Oklahoma City Thunder. Got to go with my favorite team there. And then it's a question of also, like you said, do I go with another East? Do I go with an Eastern Conference team? Because we're kind of picking all these West squads.
Yeah, at this point, there's 3 Western teams off the board. So it's just like, do I think there's a Western team better than Ryan's? You know what I mean? It's kind of a strategy.
There's a couple teams in between. I'm gonna go Minnesota. I'm gonna go with Minnesota. It's another Western Conference team, I know, but I think securing these two teams while you have the other 2 Western Conference teams is a good kind of way to hedge my bets of where, as long as I can get one of these into the Western Conference Finals, if you get one, then I can kind of match your points there. The Wolves are the 1 seed. They're a ridiculous defensive team, one of the best defensive teams we've seen in a really long time compared to league average. I think they're the last team that was this far ahead of the competition defensively was the 2008 Boston Celtics, who did win the finals. I'm not saying the Wolves are going to do that, but I think they're better than people give them credit for, and I'm going to go with them as one of my picks. If one of these are the 2 teams that people are calling frauds in the Western Conference.
Connor's got the GOAT pick and the fraud pick. So
yeah, I've got the Celtics and a couple of frauds, apparently, according to a lot of people, but I'm going to trust in it. I'm going to go with they're up there at the top of the West for a reason, and I'm going to go with them.
All right, I'm going to start sniffing the East with my pick. My next pick is going to be the Milwaukee Bucks.
That's good. That's a good pick.
So the thing is, with the Doc Rivers coach team, they're going to win at least 3 games because he's got to blow the 3. You got to get the 3-1 lead to blow it.
That's true. That's true. You get a safety net with 3 wins here.
That's 3 wins right there, at least. Okay. But fair. I just think you were talking about it earlier with the way Giannis plays. Hopefully, Chris Middleton comes back and remembers to play basketball. And I just think they have a chance to, go on a run. You never know. Damian Lillard's been a playoff riser. Giannis has made some good runs in the playoffs. So who knows? Maybe they'll put it together. Maybe Doc Rivers finally blows his curse. So I think in terms of playoff success, I think the Bucks are probably my second favorite pick in that aspect. So now this one is interesting. I'm between 2 East teams and a West team for my next one. Not wrong East team. I think you might have missed there.
Not the Wizards. My fault.
I'm going to go with the Phoenix Suns.
Phoenix. Okay. I'm going to be honest. That was a team I thought about a little bit when I took my Timberwolves pick, just going out of the box, but I like the Phoenix pick. Talk me through it.
Just going back to my Clippers pick from earlier, you have Kevin Durant and Devin Booker and hopefully Bradley Beal if he's on the court.
We'll see.
Yeah. But I just think with Booker and Durant, because when you go to the playoffs, it's just all about risers. You know what I mean? That's why people crap on the Sixers and why I got called a dodgeball fraud, because you got to get there. And
the Joel Embiid of church dodgeball.
I know,
is Ryan himself.
A crazy legacy to have, but that's gonna be our thing to comment down below. By the way, that I'm the Joel Embiid of dodgeball.
Yeah, comment down below that Ryan is the Joel Embiid of dodgeball. If you've made it to this point in the pod episode,
yeah, exactly.
We appreciate it.
I just think if they can figure out everything else around their main dudes, and I haven't been watching a ton of the Suns games recently, but I think the last time I checked in, it was last week, Bol was playing 35 minutes a game. So hopefully that's not the case.
He kind of had a crazy game the other day. I think he went on a solo 12-0 run or something like that. Bol has kind of been cooking.
Yes, I don't think that's their playoff success recipe, but
probably not.
I just think when you have Durant and you have Devin Booker, who both have finals experience and one's won a finals, I just think anything can happen, and that's gonna be my pick. And with the West being wide open, if those two get hot, they can beat probably anybody. So
yeah, it's an unpredictable conference. So I like the Phoenix pick a lot. I'm gonna go with the team that I think might be the second best squad in the East when healthy. I'm going with the New York Knicks.
Man, I was choosing between the Suns and the Knicks.
The problem with the Knicks, kind of like the Suns, although the Suns still have Booker and Durant healthy for the most part, the Knicks have been ravaged by injuries. We don't know when Julius Randle's coming back. OG Anunoby's been hurt for a little bit. Mitchell Robinson is hurt still. It's been kind of chaotic over there. When they've had everyone healthy, like in January, and I talked about this a little bit in the video I just put out earlier, talking about the overall Eastern Conference playoff race, but the Knicks had the most wins out of any team in January. They got OG Anunoby right at the start of the new year, and they were cooking. They went 14-2 in January, or I think the best defense, a top 5 offense. They looked amazing, and they also added Bojan. They also added Alec Burks at the deadline.
They haven't played with OG yet?
No, they haven't. Yeah. I'm pretty sure
OG's been out for the whole squad yet, because they haven't even played with Randle, have they?
No, and Mitchell Robinson's been out since like early season. The whole team,
they've never even played together. So
no, which is a little concerning going towards the playoffs. But I think just on paper, the talent that they have, if there's any team that I think could, there's like the Celtics and then the Bucks kind of make sense with Giannis and Dame. I think the Knicks are that third team kind of in the conversation too. I very well think they may be the overall second best team in the East behind Boston if they can get healthy. The question is, can they get healthy? So we're going to have to wait and see with the Knicks, but I do think they've got the chance to make a run of sorts. I could see them as a conference finals team if they put it together. It's just a matter of who's actually on the court for them. So I'm going to go with them. If they were fully healthy, I'm going to pick them like last round. It's just, who's actually going to be on the court for the Knicks. So that's my pick there.
I think we're in dicey territory now.
We are. So
I feel like you got to go for ceilings now. Like, who could make a run?
A team that can make a run that has done it before. That has done it before.
Oh, don't pick Miami, bro. Nah, don't do it, bro. Don't do it.
I'm taking the Miami Heat.
Oh, that's crazy.
They somehow. I'm not even that big of a believer in them. I called them recently a not contender in one of my videos, and the comments were so mad at me that I called the Heat not a contender. I know they've proved me wrong a billion times. One of the biggest things that was commented under that tweet I put out about how great the Celtics are and saying, I don't know who could beat them in a 7-game series. Half the comments were pictures of Jimmy Butler. So people clearly believe in the Miami Heat, and I don't blame them at this point. Also, they're only 1.5 games back of the Knicks at the 4 spot. So there's a real chance the Heat could push up for home court advantage. And if they get that, I feel pretty good about them winning a first-round series if they can land that spot. Again, it will kind of depend on their opponent. Like, say they play the Knicks fully healthy, I think that's going to be really tough. But this Heat team, to me, they've just proved me wrong so many times. If we're, like you said, talking ceilings, I think the Heat could be a sneaky second-round, even conference finals team if they get the right matchup. So I'm not going to bet against Jimmy Butler here. I'm going to go with the Miami Heat.
My only thing is he is the only 2 teams in the top group that I think that they could beat in a series are the Sixers without Embiid. And where did they go? I just had them in mind. Now I lost them. Hold on. Let me go back to the standings. Why did I just forget? Oh, the Magic. I think the Magic and the Sixers without Embiid are the only 2 teams they could beat. So that's the only reason why I would have picked them. I mean, they could. I don't think they beat the Pacers personally. I don't think they beat Cleveland. I don't think they beat the Knicks, Boston, Milwaukee. So I don't know, man. We'll see. Like you said, they've done it before. They've upset teams that were supposed to be a lot better than them. And if you have playoff Jimmy, the Fall Out Boy music video star, then anything's possible. So,
bro, they find ways to get wins with the power of friendship. I can't knock what they do. They find ways to pull it off. So I'm going to pick Miami vibes. Yeah.
All right. Now here's the issue: is I really thought you were going to pick. I was probably going to pick the Knicks if you let them slide to me, but now you left me with 3 teams because I thought you were going to pick one of the 3 teams in between.
I think I know the squad that you're talking about.
I'll go Cleveland.
Okay. Cleveland. I thought about taking Cleveland instead of the Heat. I just went with the power of friendship, who always proved me wrong team, and the Heat with the ceiling there. But I think Cleveland's a really good pick. The fact that they fell this far feels kind of crazy as the current 2 seed. But yeah, tell me why you picked them.
Yeah, I just think they're a well-rounded team. They've made some good improvements to the roster to kind of not be just like the starters and everybody else. So I think they've got the pieces. They've got a leading scorer in Donovan Mitchell. They've got the front court presence with Allen and Mobley, and it's just going to come down to, do they just play together well as a unit, and are they able to beat some of these guys that I think have more of the higher end talent? Are they able to take down like Giannis and Dame, Tatum Brown and KP? or if they somehow make a finals run, are they going to take down one of these Western, powerhouses? So I think that's the test for them. They really haven't had a lot of playoff success last year. I think they were a sleeper pick for a lot of people, and they kind of sold the bag. So
yeah, they got knocked out in 5 to the Knicks.
I do think that this is a really big prove it finally year for the Cavs. Like, okay, we get it. You can be a top seed and be pretty good in the regular season. Mitchell can put up some good numbers, but are you going to actually, do something with it? So
yeah, are you
I think they will.
Big moments.
I think they have I really think they can make an Eastern Conference Finals run. So,
I think they can too. I feel like a lot of people are just straight up writing off the Cavaliers because last year was bad. I wouldn't write them off either. I think there are some potential bad matchups for them in that first round. Like, one thing that I'm a little bit scared about for them is, say, like, if the Sixers get Joel Embiid back and he's looking like himself, that's kind of scary to me for Cleveland. I think Miami also is a bit scary because we've seen the Cavs offense a short circuit at times, and that's like a really physical defensive squad. So that series would be hideous between the Heat and the Cavs. That's like 90 to 89 every game.
I think Knicks is a pretty nightmare matchup for them too.
Yeah, so there are some scary matchups, but I do think this team is significantly better than last year.
I agree.
So it's going to be a matter of if they put it together in the playoffs, because again, last year we saw them fall apart. But I do think this team is better. And if they made a, like you said, Eastern Conference Finals run, I wouldn't be shocked.
And speaking of runs, I'm going with my boys, the Dallas Mavericks.
Ryan's going with the Mavericks, sticking with the Luka Doncic theme.
I think this is the best roster they've had in a while. I do think, with the additions of, I don't know why do you know why Gafford played 5 minutes last night? I didn't watch the game because I was at dodgeball, obviously. Do you know why he got kind of banished to the Shadow Realm?
It was a weird game because they were getting blown out. He wasn't. I can't remember. I just want to make sure.
I thought Maxi Kleber played like 35 minutes and Gafford played like 5. And people
I know Mavs fans were mad about Jason Kidd not playing Gafford that much. To me, it just felt like he didn't really have that crazy impact out there. Like, it didn't seem like it was a matchup for him. I know they were getting torched by Kristaps Porzingis towards the beginning. Like, he was cooking them out there in the perimeter. So I think they just tried to go a little bit more mobile with Kleber. It obviously did work because they got killed, which everyone does by the Celtics. But yeah, I know there were a lot of Mavs fans, a lot of Mavs fans calling for him to be fired today because he didn't play Gafford. So just Jason Kidd is one of my concerns too with the Mavericks. I just don't think he's that great of a coach.
I don't think so either. And I think if they don't make a run this year, I think that they will try to keep the roster together and then try it under a new coach. I really think they will.
Yeah,
so,
I wouldn't be surprised.
I just think when you have Luka on your team and you got Kyrie, playoff experience, finals ring, I just think, anything can happen. And I do think that with how good Luka is, that he can take over a series and, will a team to victory or at least get some wins. So that's my pick.
Yeah, even if they, say they make the playoffs and they go out in the first round, I do think they're going out swinging, grabbing a couple wins along the way. So.
The Mavericks have really never went down like flailing. I feel like Luka's always like, whether it was those Clippers, the Clippers series where Luka just was like fathering them nonstop, just trying to put the boys on his back.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got some picks to go ahead and make. There are a number of. Do I go with your guys in the Sixers? Do I believe
there's a reason why I haven't picked them yet?
Do I believe in the Joel Embiid return?
No, having 4 East teams would be wild. I ain't gonna lie.
It would be kind of crazy. But the Celtics is something. I'm gonna take the Pelicans. No one's gone with them yet.
We were Pelicans haters on a couple episodes ago.
I don't even think we were really Pelicans haters. I know one person commented calling us Pelicans haters.
Yeah.
I think we just said that we didn't really see them as like championship contenders or something. I don't think we said anything too crazy. But I am going to go with the Pelicans. They are currently the 6th seed at the moment. They would have a series against the Nuggets. I think the Nuggets win that series. But I think the Pelicans can grab some wins. The one time we saw Ingram in the playoffs, he was really, really good. Zion feels like he could be a bit of a playoff riser as well. We've never seen him in the playoffs. CJ has a bunch of experience. And I think they're just really well-rounded. They're pretty good on both sides of the ball. They feel like a team that could give a team a tough series in that first round if they got the right matchup. So I'm going to go with the Pelicans. I think they're pretty good. And if they made a second-round appearance, I wouldn't be super shocked. Behind them, I'm between a couple of teams. This is my last pick. Okay, we're picking 8 teams, by the way. So
yeah,
I've only got a couple of picks left. I think we take Sacramento.
Well, that's kind of crazy. The 2 teams you picked, I was not going to pick either one of them for my next 2 picks.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go with Sacktown. They've got a great home court advantage. They pushed the Warriors to 7 games last year. I know the defense is shaky, but when you have Fox and Sabonis with that talent, plus, again, with the Western Conference, like, they're only 1 game back of being a 5 seed. If they can push their way up the standings a little bit, like, say, grab a favorable matchup, especially if, say the Clippers are injured or something like that. I think the Kings could give them a tough series. At the very least, with some of the last picks in my draft, I want to pick a team I feel pretty confident is going to make the playoffs. I think the Kings will be in there. I think they could grab some wins, so I'm going to grab the Kings here with my second to last pick.
Now, here's my thing. I'm trying to think how bold I go with this one.
These are your last two picks, so make sure you go.
My first one, I'm going to go with the team I know is going to make the playoffs. I'm going to go with the Indiana Pacers.
Okay. Oh, where's Indiana? There you go. I like that pick.
And the thing with the Pacers is I think they've just played really well against some of the contenders. They aren't really, they're not in their prime bubble form right now. But I just really think with Tyrese Halliburton and how well-rounded their roster is now, they have Siakam added to Miles Turner. I just think they have a really good team. I think they're another team where I feel like they just kind of go off running and gunning and vibes. You know what I mean? There's not really always a method to their madness, but I just like a first round matchup between them and the Bucks. That's awesome, man. I think that you can't just say the Bucks are gonna blow them out. That's gonna be some hoops right there. They've played each other really good all season, so I think they could upset one of these top teams in the first round. So that's why I kind of want to go with them.
I mean, they're not even that far away from home court advantage. Yeah. They're only 1.5 games back.
Yeah, 8 through 4 is really close, I think.
Yeah, so that's some good value there too. Say they grab home court advantage, you never know who they could. Yeah, say they face a super injured Sixers team or the Knicks or something like that in the first round who are super beat up. They've got a shot, so I like that pick.
Now here's the issue: do I pick my boys or do I? I think I'm going to pick my sleeper pick. I want the Los Angeles Lakers.
Okay, Ryan's grabbing the Lakers.
I'm going to put on record now that I had the Lakers as not only a playoff team last year when I don't know if we actually made a video last year or if we just talked about it, but I picked the Lakers to not only win in the play-in, but to get out of the first round, and they did. So I'm going to kind of roll with it again. I just think when you got LeBron and AD and you're in the playoffs, anything can happen. And I do think that they will not only make the playoffs, even if it comes from the play-in, but they're going to win their first round matchup again. So
not if it's against the Thunder.
We'll see. Anthony Davis, I think, is a really scary matchup for you guys. I know
not moved. But Mike Muscala clears, not moved.
Yeah, well, we'll see, bro. It's gonna be very sad when Thunder Twitter is getting clowned because Anthony Davis dropping 30 and 20 on them.
Whatever. Okay, so that's your 8 teams. Brian has the Clippers, the Nuggets, the Bucks, the Suns, the Cavaliers, the Mavericks, the Pacers, and the Lakers. So I've got a pick left. There is Orlando here.
I'll say, why don't you put all the people you're considering that you would still consider on the top left side, and then the rest can just be. Yeah,
there. I wish I could just can I delete teams? I wish I could. I'm gonna make another tier underneath real quick just to add
not picking.
Yeah, so obviously I'm gonna go ahead and I'm not picking the Hawks as a playing team. I'm not picking the Bulls. The Wizards are out. The Raptors, the Jazz aren't gonna get there. The Rockets won't. No Spurs. This that. It's between these 3 teams, between the Magic, the Warriors, and the Sixers. The Warriors right now are the 9 seed. They're probably going to have to end up playing the Lakers to make it in, although there's a chance they could push up because they've been winning a lot. So they're interesting. And I mean, they do have Steph Curry. They've got all that experience. It's tempting to really pick. It's really tempting to pick the Warriors.
You've got a rich head coach.
Yeah, they've got a coach making a bag now in Steve Kerr. And they've got more experience than anybody in these playoffs. The Magic are a 6 seed right now. They could theoretically push their way up the standings, but they're young, and I don't know how they're going to perform. So I don't think I'm really going towards the Magic as much. But they are pretty firmly going to make the playoffs, it seems like. So that would be a safe bet. But I think I'm going to go with the Philadelphia 76ers.
I think that's a good pick. I was between them and the Pacers for my last East pick. It's just really hard with the unknown of Joel Embiid, but that's a good value pick. A very good value pick.
Yeah. I'm going to, with this pick, with the Warriors again, I think they could have a higher ceiling. If Embiid's not back, the Sixers aren't going anywhere. They're going to get destroyed. But if Embiid does return, and he was seemingly hinting at a potential return towards the end of March, if he comes back and just give him a couple of weeks to get back somewhat into shape, looking like the Embiid of old, I think the Sixers team is a nightmare matchup in the first round. If you're like the Milwaukee Bucks or the Cavaliers, one of those top teams, and you've got to play a Sixer squad coming from the 6 or the 7 spot, that's really scary because, sure, they haven't won in the second round before, but they pretty consistently win in the first round. And Embiid was playing like the best player in the world when he was healthy. We don't know if he's going to look like that coming off injury. New coach too, and Nick Nurse, who I have a lot more confidence in than Doc Rivers. Maxi's now an all-star. So I'm going to pick the Sixers. They've been not great, but they've been somewhat staying afloat as of late. I think Buddy Hield is an addition too, makes them pretty scary, giving another shooter for Embiid. I'm going to go with the Sixers. If they're healthy, they're not really going anywhere, and this could be a dud pick. But I think I'm going to go ahead.
I think you just said if they're healthy.
If they're not healthy,
they're a dud.
Either way, they're screwed. But yeah, no, if they don't have Embiid, they're not going anywhere. So we'll see on this one. But I'm going to go with them. So my team is the Celtics, the Thunder, the Timberwolves, the Knicks, the Heat, the Pelicans, the Kings, and the Sixers. So these are our playoff teams drafted. Let us know whose team is better. Maybe I can go ahead and clip this, and I'll change my name to Cone on here in case we put it on Twitter or something. Maybe we could put it through like the two-man game Twitter, or I could go ahead and put it out on my Twitter or something like that.
Yeah, put on your. That actually would not be a bad idea to get some, traction. Take a screenshot of the final one and say like who's say we like Ryan, like Ninja Bands and I, we picked our top 8 teams going into the playoffs. Who's got the better group? And if you want to see a rationale, put the link to the podcast or something. That might be a good way to get some.
Yeah. I'm trying to screenshot this real quick. Okay, this screenshot should hopefully work. Okay, I'll save that up.
Or if you
that over here
or something.
Yeah. Okay. Got it saved on the computer. But yeah, I'll put that out like when our playoff, like when
where's the Warriors? Orlando?
Yeah. So we can talk about the teams that didn't make it in the Magic and the Warriors. Also, there's the Hawks and the Bulls as the last 2 playing teams. I don't have confidence at all in the Hawks or the Bulls. I think if they make it, they get destroyed in the playoffs. So,
absolutely. The Celtics would freaking probably beat them each by 20 points.
Yeah, it would be one of the most lopsided series we've seen in a while. So I'm cool with not picking either of those teams.
We talked a little bit. Just got surgery, so I mean,
yeah. Trae also, literally just got finger surgery, I think it was. So we don't even know what's gonna happen with him.
It might even fall out.
Yeah, so we don't know what's gonna happen with those 2 teams. The Bulls are just the Bulls as well. The Warriors are the one team that I probably feel the worst about not picking here because they've been surging as of late, and it feels like they're really putting it together. I don't know how I quite feel about them compared to some of these teams. I feel better. Mainly what I wanted to go for is because we said it's -2, right? If you don't make the playoffs.
Yep.
I didn't want to pick a team that I wasn't confident was going to make the playoffs. Every team I picked, I feel pretty good about making the playoffs. None of these teams are, I think the Kings might be in the play-in at the moment, but even if they are in the play-in, I think the Kings end up making it out of that. Yeah, right now they're the 7th seed. Kings Mavericks playing game, by the way, would be super fun. That's the kind of
playing games this year are going to be really good, I think, in the West.
Oh, especially in the West. Like right now, it'd be Kings Mavs and then Warriors Lakers in the playing games. Those are amazing matchups.
Yeah.
But I want to pick teams I was confident would make the playoffs, and like you said, had kind of high ceilings. Like if the Sixers get Embiid back, I think they could go pretty far. I could see the Heat making a run like they typically do. It does feel like I'm relying a lot on injuries, like with these Knicks and Sixers picks. They've got to get healthy to have any type of success. But I would rather pick to make sure I know they're going to make the playoffs most likely than bank on the Warriors, even though I could see them making it. I don't know if they're going to beat one of the top 4 teams in the Western Conference. So
I was actually between the Warriors and the Lakers. And the only reason why I went with the Lakers is just because they have the pairing of LeBron and AD. And I know Steph's going to ball out, but I don't feel confident about a second guy necessarily stepping up and
that's how I feel too.
Willing them to victory. So I do think LeBron and AD will rise, whereas Steph might be kind of alone in the corner there. So
yeah, there's also the fact that Wiggins is now out with personal stuff going on, and they don't know when he's going to be back. I saw one person say, I can't remember if it was a reporter, just someone speculating that this might be like the last game Wiggins has played with the Warriors, that he may not be back because there's something going on. So if he's out too, he's been a lot better as of late and has been big for them. He's a guy that they would need to step up and give them a lot in the playoffs if they want to have any type of success. So that's another thing too that's weighing on them. They were also just relying a lot on like Kuminga and Pods to step up. Klay Thompson isn't really who he used to be. So yeah, they just don't really have that secondary guy behind Steph Curry. But I feel like, I don't know, I feel like we did a pretty good job. I think these are probably the teams I would have expected us to take, except like maybe I thought you would have gone with the Warriors over like the Lakers or something. But like you said, I see why you picked the Lakers. And honestly, I probably would have picked them as well just because it's LeBron James. I'm not really betting against LeBron to not make the playoffs. So
I will say I was considering if you left me to have to pick between the Kings and the Warriors, I think I was going to pick the Warriors.
Interesting.
I'm going to say I do think that if it comes to a play-in situation, I could see the Warriors beating the Kings. So that's why if I was between them two, I think I might have picked the Warriors. That was like the only, I think, dilemma. Looking at your list, everyone else on your list I probably would have had on mine if it came down to it. I still think your Miami pick was a little risky. I think I would have picked the Pacers over Miami if I was between the two, in a bracket. That was the other one. But I like pretty much everything else. The Knicks was a team I was going to pick, probably over Cleveland as well, if I had to choose between the two. And then just kind of like what you were saying with like OKC, Minnesota, I went with more of like the surefire Western teams, I feel like, in
the more experienced ones that
and you went with the quote unquote frauds. So we'll have to see what comes out, the expectations versus the reality. We'll see what comes back to.
I did go with a lot of wild cards on my list. I think I went kind of boom or bust here. Like, say the Thunder and Wolves end up disappointing, the Knicks are injured, and the Sixers are. It's so cooked. Like, I'm so cooked. But I think
I want a first round series in the East, though.
So having the Celtics is this is the reason I wanted this, because I feel pick. Yeah, to me, the Celtics are the clear-cut favorites to win both the Eastern Conference and the Finals. If I had to pick today, I'm absolutely picking the Celtics. So that's why I wanted the first pick, because everything else is so up in the air. Like, I could see a Clippers Thunder Western Conference Finals. I could see Nuggets Thunder. I could see Thunder Timberwolves, Nuggets Clippers. Like, it's all over the place in the Western Conference. Whereas in the Eastern Conference, I feel so strongly that the Celtics are going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals and probably the NBA Finals themselves, that this pick to me feels like a surefire, 12 points through the wins they're going to get throughout the Eastern Conference. And then what do we say, like 2 points if they make the finals, 3 points if they win it, something like that?
Yeah, so we'll do a point for each win, 2 points to make the finals, we'll do actually 1 point to make the conference finals, 2 points to make the finals, 3 points if you win. We'll go with that.
We'll go with that.
And then 1 point for each win, and then -2 if you don't make the playoffs.
Yeah. So the Celtics are
play-in wins do not count towards the playoff win thing.
So the Celtics, I feel super strongly that they're going to make a deep run. So that's why I wanted that number 1 pick. I knew I was going to be giving you 2 really good teams in the West that are probably considered the favorites by a lot of people. Mm-hmm. But because it's just so up in the air, whereas there is the clear favorite, I was willing to go ahead and give that up. So if you had won, would you have picked the first pick or the second pick if you had won the coin toss?
I was picking the second pick.
Okay. So it seems like it would have worked out either way. So
I personally thought that no matter who the 4th team would have been, I think the Clippers and Nuggets will end up netting me more points than Boston will net you. That was my idea. I don't know.
No, that's fair. I think that makes a lot of sense.
That was my rationale, but who knows? We'll see.
No, I think actually now I'm thinking about that, it makes a lot of sense. I've got this. I'm not worried at all. But yeah, so this is our NBA playoff team draft. Hopefully y'all enjoyed. I like doing draft games like this. We should do more of these over time. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and put that on Twitter, probably most likely when I upload this tomorrow, to kind of go along with the episode, be like, hey, this new episode is out. These are the teams that we drafted. Watch the episode to see our rationale, kind of thing. So yeah, I think that's kind of all we got for this episode of the podcast. There have been a couple of games today that just wrapped up. Specifically, the Heat just wrapped up a game against the Utah Jazz. I know Jimmy Butler went berserk. He had 37 points in this game.
There's your finals pick right there.
There's my team.
Your Miami Heat.
Well, I think with that win, do they move up the standings? With that win, they are now, I think, tied for the 6th seed. So We'll see. But yeah, Jimmy had a crazy game with 37, 3, 7, shot 12 of 19 from the field. Bam Adebayo had a great game. Keontae George went crazy.
He's been kind of open.
He had 31 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists.
Did he have a 40 burger not too long ago? Or am I making that up?
I don't think he had a 40.
Maybe it's a 30 burger.
He had a 33 piece against the Warriors. I think that's.
I knew he had another 30-point game recently.
Yeah, so that game finished up a little bit ago. The Nets also played earlier against the Hawks. They beat them, so another reason why none of us are picking the Hawks. Mikal Bridges had 38 points, so shout out to him. But yeah, I think that's all we got for right now, unless you got anything last second to add.
Nah, man, I'm just excited for the playoffs to start. I just kind of not to saying that the rest of the season is going to be boring, but I'm ready for the playoff hoops.
It's going to be ridiculous. Like, if we just take a look, last thing we'll do real quick, the playoff series right now, say that it just finishes the way it is 1 through 8. I know there's all the play-in mess to work through, but 1 through 8 right now, it would be Wolves versus Mavericks.
Mavericks winning.
Thunder versus, you're just saying that because they're on their team. Thunder versus Kings, Nuggets versus Pelicans, and Clippers versus Suns would be really fun.
A lot of star power in that one.
A lot of star power. A lot like last year, but I think both teams are better now than they were last season. In the East, you would have Celtics versus Pacers, which would be a super fun shootout series, it feels like. Yep. Cavs versus Heat, Bucks versus Magic, and Knicks versus Sixers, which if they were healthy, which would be an amazing battle between those two teams.
Oh my! I really not to call out the other teams, but the dream matchup for me as a Sixers fan is if somehow we play the Magic or the Heat round 1.
That's a dream for you?
I think that's our best case scenario. So I would rather play them than the Pacers personally, from a Sixers fan.
Heat fans are going to hate you in this video.
I have nothing against the Heat, man. Shout out the Heat. But I'm just saying. And plus, it's a Kyle Lowry revenge series also. So
okay, that's a good point. The Kyle Lowry revenge series is
who I have to say has been pretty good for Philly since he's been.
He's been
a lot better than he was in Miami.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he just needed to be back under Nick Nurse.
Yeah.
I know he's been having a couple of pretty good games for y'all watching him. It's weird to see Lowry as a Sixer. It still doesn't feel like it's actually happening. He's one of those guys that I feel like I've pictured him in a Sixers jersey before because there have been rumors in the past.
Yeah, before
so
we
it
almost
feels,
gave him Maxi for him.
Yeah, it feels somewhat natural.
Take that,
but
Masai.
yeah, the whole thing was like, oh, Masai is not going to give up his pieces for low value when he could have had Tyrese Maxey and maybe Matisse Thybulle. So, yeah.
I get
all right. That is the episode for today. We appreciate you tuning in. Again, if you made it to the end of the video, comment down below that Ryan is the Joel Embiid of dodgeball. Let us know that down below if you made it to the end. Leave a like and subscribe here on the YouTube if you enjoyed. If you're over on Spotify, pre-download the podcasts. I know some people have said they've not been getting notified of the Spotify uploads. Last episode,
come on, Spotify.
Yeah, last episode, someone commented and was like, "Is it on Spotify yet?" And they're like, "Oh, never mind, it just popped up." It like wasn't showing it to me for some reason. They're like, and it hadn't shown them the past 3 episodes because they were asking like, why'd you stop uploading on Spotify? When I hadn't, it had still been going up there, but I don't know. It feels like audio platforms are kind of weird. Like YouTube is definitely the most consistent one. It feels like with letting you know, and even YouTube isn't super consistent. So anyways, pre-download, rate 5 stars, do all that stuff. As always, Grind's going to continue going to the playoffs. Maybe we'll record a podcast together finally, because we're going to be in Florida together next weekend. So if we have some time, maybe we'll do it together, episode of the podcast or something. But yeah, for right now, we appreciate you tuning in as always. From me, Cone, Connor, Ryan, we appreciate you tuning into the 2-man game. Take care. Peace.